What's up everyone, Vu of Vu Films, and I am back with another idiotic video for you to watch, and probably the last idiotic video that'll be filmed in anything other than a Sony a7S III, because I just got shipment notification of my Sony a7S III, so I cannot wait. I have a massive bulge in my drawers right now, and I can't control it. But that is not the subject of today's matter. Today I want to talk about individual styles, techniques, what have you, of being a professional filmmaker. And as you grow in your filmmaking career, when you first start off with doing videography or what have you, people will say you will eventually find your style. And that leads me to ask the question, what is style? And that question could be answered in a quote by none other than Bruce Lee, in my opinion. Bruce Lee. And no, he is not a filmmaker, or well, I guess he was a filmmaker. He wrote scripts and all that stuff, but he is a martial artist. In martial arts, Kung Fu is an art, just as filmmaking is an art. So this is what he had to say about style.
So styles tends to not only separate men, because they have their own doctrines, and then the doctrine became the gospel truth, that you cannot change, But if you do not have styles, if you just say, well, here I am, as a human being, how can I express myself totally and completely? Now, that way, you won't create a style, because style is a crystallization, that way, it's a process of continuing growth.
With that being said, filmmaking for me, and I feel like it should be for most of us, is a continuous journey and a continuous process of growth. And last week, when I had posted a video regarding breaking the rules of the shutter, the 180-degree shutter angle, I got some flack about it on Facebook groups about that not being professional. The proper way is, in the filmmaking way, is a 180-degree shutter for that beautiful motion blur. And yes, that motion blur is definitely pleasing. But what I'm saying is there's a time and place for everything, and you have to do what works for you for whatever it is you're doing. In my case, what I was specifically talking about is wedding filmmaking, run and gun. Sometimes you just got to get the shot, and when you get the shot in certain situations with not a lot of movement, breaking the 180-degree shutter is not going to make a huge difference in the overall quality of your work. But there are some of those filmmakers who say, well, that is not professional. Not following the particular rules of filmmaking is you are degrading your work, all because clients don't see it. You should be able to see it, and that your work is not as good as it could be, what have you. And I would argue that if I had to sit there and make sure I manage all of the ND filters, made sure I manage multiple cameras with it, going in and outside, taking ND filters off when I don't need it, putting it back on, all of those things, I would probably not be as good, because in the weddings I film, the timelines and how tight they are and where it takes place and how it takes place, I'll probably miss a lot of shots, and I could be very flustered and frustrated over the hassle of dealing with ND filters when I know in my mind that just cranking that shutter speed will not make a lick of a difference. So with that being said, I would like to believe that I don't have a particular style, that my style is just whatever it takes to tell the story I'm trying to tell, whether it be weddings, whether it be a corporate shoot, whether it be a commercial, whether it be a documentary, whether it be an actual film. What do I have to do to tell the story the best way, in terms of how I see it, how I witnessed it, or how I wrote it, or how I want it to be presented? What is it that I'm trying to do? And that even comes with how you use the camera. I never went to film school. I was an accountant for 10 years. I literally started my filmmaking after I got my own wedding film back, and I loved it. I decided to buy a camera. My first camera was Sony Nex 6. So literally everything I've ever learned, every technique that I ever learned to use with cameras have been used with Sony cameras. From the NEX6 to the Alpha 66, to the Alpha 6000, to the Alpha 6300, 6500, A7S, to A7R3, A7 III, and now A7S III when it gets to my house. life itself is ever changing. Every day is a different day. And I think we should treat filmmaking and any type of art for that matter the same way. We are constantly learning, we are constantly evolving to get better at our craft. And at the end of the day, it's a story we're trying to tell, what we are trying to express. And we should not limit it based on some rules written in some textbooks regarding filmmaking. Two of my biggest pet peeves right now, when I see in the filmmaking community, is the use of autofocus and the use of shutter speed. Because all of a sudden, if you use autofocus, or all of a sudden, you don't follow the 180-degree angle shutter speed, then all of a sudden you're some type of douchebag filmmaker. You're not professional. You are trash. You shouldn't be breaking the rules. What have you? And I think that's complete BS, because you have to evolve with the times. You have to adjust. You have to adapt with the situation that you're filming, one, and the gear that you have available to you. 10 years ago, autofocus was complete trash. Of course, you're gonna have to rack focus, but now I would argue that autofocus, it has been a lot better than the focus pullers work that I've seen. So it's all dependent on the situation. It all depends on who you are as a filmmaker and what you prefer, but all because someone uses a different technique than you, or someone who uses a different camera than you, or someone who just goes against the grain with everything that what the textbooks say, does not make them not a professional. A professional is anyone who someone else is willing to pay them money to do work. So if you're a photographer or a filmmaker and someone's willing to pay you $1 to do some work, you are a professional on that job because you're getting paid. Matter of fact, even if you didn't get paid, but it's just someone who looks at your work and even is willing to ask you to do something. I guess I'm getting a little bit too long-winded. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but the bottom line is you do not have to follow all of these these film school rules of quote unquote proper filmmaking to be an amazing, excellent videographer or filmmaker. And all because one guy, is doing the whole 180-degree shutter, he's rack focusing, all that stuff, and you're over here using autofocus and doing whatever you need with the shutter speed to get the proper exposure, shooting wide open. But as long as you're telling the story, as long as your end product is good, why does it matter? You know what I mean? You go on like freaking Netflix and watch countless and countless of the most crappy, most horribly produced movies and TV shows you ever see. And you have some dude, and plenty of them you'll see on YouTube, have a Sony a7 III, doing whatever they want with the shutter speed, using autofocus, using whatever, and producing way more compelling content than anything you see on Netflix. I mean, with that said, it was just a big disappointment to me to see, I haven't been doing this for that long. Probably, I bought my first camera in 2014. I did my first professional job, which was a wedding, in mid 2016. And I didn't become full-time videographer, where I quit my accounting job entirely until December 2018. So I've been in this game not that long. So there's a lot of other guys out there who has been in this filmmaking, videography game a lot longer than I have. And when they say things like, you're not a real professional, or your work is degraded, or what have you, all because you're not following some textbook rules, I find that very disappointing, because these are some filmmakers that I've been keeping my eye on. I've been watching and getting inspiration when I first started. And then to see things like that go on in the filmmaking community is very disappointing. And, that's fine. That is their philosophy. But my philosophy is you should not have a style. You should do whatever it takes to tell the story you want to do. And there's no limits to what you can or cannot do with the gear, the camera, whatever it is that you have. It's all about the end product. It's all about the end product. It's all about what is expressed at the end of the day. It does not matter how you got there. For the love of God, You could have a whole film 2 stops overexposed. But if that's the way it was supposed to be expressed, if that's how the story's gonna be told, and it turned out great, great. Rules are meant to be broken. That's how it's been all this time. That is, things change, philosophies change, technology change, everything's changed. Everything is constantly switching. Filmmaking is not the same as it was in 1960 as it is now. Sports, football, baseball, basketball, it all evolves over time. Things change over time. Definitely pay attention to the rules. Definitely know what is proper. Definitely understand, the main basics of filmmaking, but don't let these things limit your creativity and limit what you produce at the end of the day. That's all I'm saying. Till next time, guys, lighten up.